Hello everyone, it's time for another segment of Megan and the Mayor. Of course, joining me is Mayor-Lerion-Gaylor-Baird for the City of Lincoln. Wonderful to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. It's good to be back.
Yes, and we have quite a few topics to talk about today, but this morning you had a great announcement. We were talking about the 1-year anniversary for the American Rescue Plan. Hard to believe it's already been a year, but time flies. And originally with that, the city and county, we got $108 million. Before we get to those workforce grants, could you talk a little bit about that money, who it kind of went to, and how the city and county work together to make sure those dollars were maximized?
Yeah, it is amazing to think that it was just a year ago that the American Rescue Plan was introduced by the President and passed by Congress. And what that has meant is direct resources sent directly to cities and counties all across the country, and that includes Lincoln and Lancaster County. And we partnered right away. We thought, these are one-time dollars, and we need to make sure that we spend them as efficiently and effectively and equitably as possible. So to avoid any overlap and to make sure that we were addressing the broadest portfolio of needs in the community, we came up with a plan about how to approach that work. And so on the county side, we've of course made allocations to 30 nonprofits who serve some of the most vulnerable members of our community, people who are dealing with housing insecurity, food insecurity, and other incredibly immediate, urgent needs. And then on the city side, for instance, we have worked to deploy these dollars and get them into the hands of small businesses that were disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And we've helped made grants to over 250 small businesses here in Lincoln. They employ over 2,800 people right here in our community. So that has helped with them with rent and mortgage payments and to really stabilize operations, be able to keep their employees on payroll and move forward as we are on this road to recovery. And then today's announcement was really exciting. It was about workforce, a challenge we've faced for many years, but has been clearly exacerbated by the pandemic. Everyone's competing for workforce right now and looking for people with skills that match their needs. And so the grants we announced today are for 6 different organizations here in Lincoln that will help us grow capacity, can skill and upskill and reskill workers to help match the needs of employers and make sure that more people in our community have economic opportunity. More people can go to bed at night knowing that they can take care of themselves and their families. So we're really pleased to make the announcement of $12 million to advance workforce development here in Lincoln.
And you said there was a handful that received those dollars. Could you just expand on a couple of them of who it will be directly impacting?
Yeah, we're making key investments in key sectors like manufacturing and early childhood education and childcare, in welding and IT and health sciences. So for instance, Bryan Health is receiving a grant to help provide more certified nursing assistants and to train more phlebotomists. We are working with the Chamber of Commerce to advance the work of the Lincoln Manufacturing Council that helps get more workers connected to manufacturers here in town. And we're working with the Center for People in Need. They're going to be training more people in Google certificates so they can do some tech functions that are in need across the employee landscape of our community. And then Community Action Partnership, which hosted the press conference, and they are a recipient of grant to train more people to become early childhood professionals. And I mean, boy, if there's something that helps not only folks in the childcare sector, but every organization and business across the community, it's making sure that we have the childcare and early childhood education workforce to take care of our youngest residents so that their moms and dads can go to work.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you had many more apply for these grants. Not everyone could get the money, but how was it decided who and how much each of those would be receiving from these workforce grants?
That's right. We leaned heavily on the recommendation of my Economic Recovery Task Force that convened in 2020 and said, should you have resources, these are what you should be doing. Well, with the advance of these American Rescue Plan dollars, we were able to act on the Economic Recovery Task Force recommendations. And so we asked both Angie Muehlheisen and Ava Thomas. Ava is the president and publisher of the Lincoln Journal-Star. Angie is the president and CEO of Union Bank and Trust. They co-chaired the task force. They participated in the committee of folks who made the recommendations, reviewed the grants, and made those recommendations to my team. And so, aside from making these wonderful awards, $12 million worth of awards to these organizations, we've also looked to help those who applied but didn't receive the award, and we are working with our WIOA team, our Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act team, to help match job seekers with jobs and to help provide wraparound services. So we're trying to leverage these dollars to do even more good, not just for the winners, but also for the applicants who demonstrated that they could use support too.
Right, yes. It sounds like the money will be impacting a lot of people, but you're going to impact those not receiving those dollars as well. So, yes. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, so touched on that. Is there any other help that those who did not receive the grants, is there anything else the workforce will be doing there, or how did you pronounce it? The WIOA?
WIOA.
WIOA.
Yeah, well, WIOA exists in our community to try to help match job seekers with employment, and one of the investments we're making is actually in our American Jobs Center, and that's a place where we try to help match people's skills with the needs of people who are hiring, and so that work continues apace, and that will continue to support these efforts.
Before the interview, we were talking a little bit about the snow. We just got a little bit of a dusting. We were expecting a few more inches, but not that much here in city. But I know crews were out preparing, making sure the streets were good to go for drivers for however much we did receive.
Yeah, you probably saw in your morning commute the other day that there were stripes of brine on the pavement on streets all over town, and that's one of the ways we prepare in advance. Of course, our snow fighters prepare long before the winter season. They make their plans. We line up additional private contractors who can run snow plows if we need to call on them. And so we were prepared for this event. As it turns out, it wasn't as severe as predicted, which is a great thing. We like it when your meteorologists are incorrect sometimes. So we were glad that this was a light dusting, but of course they were out during the night of the event working to make sure that the roads were as clear as could be for the morning commute, and they'll continue to do that monitoring and preparation work for the next thing that Mother Nature throws at us.
I feel like, months ago when we were talking about winter preparations, maybe in last fall, we were talking about the supply chain issues, and we were like, oh, are we going to have enough salt? Are we going to have enough of this? And we've had such a dry winter that we really haven't had to worry about that.
Yeah, that's right. We do. We are grateful for the moisture. I don't want to completely disregard what the benefits are of snow, but we are grateful for the moisture.
And of course, with snow and the changing of the seasons comes potholes. They rear their ugly heads every year. But personally, I really feel like they haven't been as bad around the city this year.
Well, they haven't, and that's because there is this clear connection between this kind of snowy weather and the moisture that it puts on pavement, and then the cracking that can follow. That's just a fact of life in a climate like ours. And so, with fewer snow events, we are seeing fewer potholes. That said, the city's still very responsive, and while we've only had maybe 50-some individuals report potholes to us so far this year, they have been out filling over 2,800 potholes in 2022. So we're on the case, but we're glad that the workload.
Yes, absolutely. So are my tires on my car. Yeah. So, and we had some more good news this week from health officials for our weekly COVID update. All across the board, we're seeing numbers decreasing when it comes to cases, hospitalizations, the positivity rate. Can you talk about a little bit of how that is relief for the city and how it's a step back to normal life? And I'm sure it's a great week when that's the kind of COVID update you can bring to the community.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. It's so wonderful to see the trends that we're seeing, the declines in cases and hospitalizations in particular, and positivity rate. And we've relied on those indicators to make sure that we're having the proper response. And it's wonderful to know that those responses have been working, that our community's efforts to keep each other safe and healthy are paying off, and of course, that vaccines are working. And I would still encourage anyone who is eligible but not yet fully vaccinated, especially if they're not yet boosted, to do so. As long as the viruses are circulating the globe, we know that we could have to respond again in the future. We're in such a good place right now. We all have the power to help us stay there, and the number one way we can exercise that power to stay in a good place is to get vaccinated and boosted. So Again, the health department is running clinics. There are clinics in elementary schools across our community every day. And we're really pleased that more and more people have been seeking those opportunities over time.
Yes, it was great to hear the Ristyle also lowering this week too. So now we are in the low yellow, I believe. So we're getting ever closer to that green. So looking forward to that. So, also in recent news, on a little bit more of a serious note, the city announced that they would be doing an independent assessment done of the Lincoln Police Department in the form of an anonymous survey. Can you talk about when and why you decided to have that implemented?
Yeah, well, the independent assessment does include a survey. It also includes focus groups and a review of policies. And this is just a really wonderful opportunity for LPD to have a close look at and what all of the members of the police department, 500 people, sworn and civilian staff, want to say about the culture, about their experiences, about the policies, and how we continue to evolve and improve, because that's what LPD does. LPD is an excellent department. We want to maintain that excellent culture, the excellent policies, and that involves always having an eye on the prize. What can we be doing more? And so that is a part of what this is going to help us achieve. It's also supportive of our 30 by 30 initiative. We are looking to recruit more women to the force. That initiative asks departments to survey themselves. I mean, that surveys and assessments are just really a part of looking to be improving continuously. And we do that across all our departments in the city. And of course, part of the reason that we're doing it is understanding that there have been allegations made and wanting to make sure that we show we are taking those seriously. We do take all complaints and investigate them thoroughly and provide a thorough response. And this is a piece of that. But it also has far and wide benefits overall as we seek to be responsive to every member of the Lincoln Police Department and what their needs are and their perspectives are about how to be the best, one of the best departments in the country.
Yes, and I believe when it was announced that this was going to be done, I believe you mentioned, or it was either in the press release though, that this was decided before Chief Teresa Ewens was put into place.
That's right. This was going back to 2021, early 2021. But because the search for a consultant to do the assessment sort of ran parallel to the chief selection process, we thought, we want to get the chief here and allow the chief to have some input on selecting the consultant and then helping to direct the effort, because it's going to be more successful with the leadership in place. So yeah, it really got underway last fall.
Gotcha. Okay. And with all the controversy swirling around LPD and the allegations, do you believe that officers and civilians, do you believe that they feel they can be truly honest in this survey?
Yes, absolutely. And we want them to be. And there's no room for dishonesty. Of course, and that's part of being a police officer. It's part of being a person who serves in the Lincoln Police Department, whether they're an officer or in the administrative side, and it's part of being a team member at the City of Lincoln. And that's how we grow. That's how we have honest, robust dialogue that leads to the continued excellence and performance of everyone across the board. And it's not the only way that people can make their voices heard. There's a portal for anonymous reporting if people feel more comfortable reporting complaints that way. We have a robust HR department and, of course, processes that have existed for many years for people to bring forward any concerns they have, and they always should if they have them. And we will respond thoroughly and with a robust approach to make sure that we continue to have an organization that is free from discrimination, harassment, and is where everyone feels safe and heard.
That's really all my questions about the assessment or the survey. Is there anything else you'd like to add, though, about the process of how it's being done? I have no idea when those results will be published or how they will be published or how much.
Yeah, I don't have an answer on the timeline for that, but once there is a complete report, we can go ahead and share the information from the report.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to mention about the assessment or the other topics?
I would just say that this is a difficult week, coming weeks with the trial involving those accused of Investigator Herrera's murder, and I want to make sure that our entire community is sending their best wishes to everyone involved at the department. This is a difficult moment, and they care very much about keeping the community safe and well, and we want to make sure that they are also understood and that their well-being is top of mind for the rest of us as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mayor, as always, for being here. I appreciate it, and I look forward to next month.
Thank you so much.